Yes, yes, yes. We are back. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another open court discussion live in the Counselor's Corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor, and joining me is my co-host, the Big Bad Wolf, Herb Lewis.
Oh,
Tonight, Monday, December 22nd, 9 p.m. EST, we are doing a recap of 2025 titled Wild Rides and Big Lessons. We're kicking off our 2025 recap, and I'm hyped to dive into the highlights, the lowlights, and everything in between with my man, the Big Bad Wolf. From wild trends to major life lessons, we're covering it all. Buckle up, because this year it's been a ride, and in my case, an even stolen ride. Everyone, please like and share our video, and don't forget to share with a family member to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. We are sitting at 1,009 subs, 91 away from the next target goal of 1.1K. Everyone, um, never mind. Just enjoy the show. Uh, Log in, tune in, and let's talk 2025. And to add to the piece of the 1008, it's been a good year. Slow moving, but data. If you're looking for data and results, we got to where we said we were going to get to, getting that 1K, and then also cracking the 350 thousand view mark on YouTube. Hey, that people watching. They might not say anything, but when you got 350,000, that's over a quarter of a million. So sooner or later, it's going to be at 500,000. Then we'll be at the 1 million mark. So
hmm
that'll be major to see 1 million pop up. And but that's consistency. And then we had 37 live broadcasts this year in 2025, and we covered a lot of topics. So for those who say, "Oh, all y'all do is bash women and that's all that," y'all some idiots. And I've been saying y'all idiots because we cover a gamut of information, which is ironic when you look around that people that was in this circle, they're trying to post stuff that we already talked about now, that we talked about years ago. And now they're just, they separated and went their own way, but they talking about stuff that we already talked about. So we moving forward and doing our thing in 2025. Yeah, there's ups, yeah, some downs and some in betweens. And man, I'm just gonna relish the opportunity to be happy to be living to go into 2026. And before I get going, shout out to my man, rest in peace, Dirty O.
yeah,
Uh,
man.
Lost him a fixture in Niagara Falls. Dirty O, man. Grew up with him at North Avenue, and I could just remember tell a story that um, in ninth grade they had a school called the Annex, and it was for all ninth graders. If you lived on a certain side, either either you would go to Laysale, but then after there was Gaskill, but most of the people are in downtown, whatever they call it, downtown or whatever. They built the school just for ninth graders, and it was South Junior. And I remember because I was good at math, so I took upper level math classes, and I sat right next to Dirty O in class. Now, mind you, I think I was in the ninth grade, so Dirty might have been like in 12th. And he probably just seen me as somebody, little badass nappy head kid on North Avenue, a little younger kid. He was like a big brother to us. And so when the grades came out and the teacher would get a grade, she'd be like, "Yo, what you get?" And I'd be like, "What you get?" And he'd be like, 79, 80. Then I'd be like 94. He's like, "Oh, you're a smart motherfucker, huh?" It's like I never would have thought it. Like So he used to give me a hard time. But then when he used to see me in the neighborhood, he'd be like, yo, he's smart. He's smart. Like, yo, he knocking out these grades in math. And that's crazy. Math used to be my thing, and I let somebody steal that joy. But anyways, Dirty O was a fixture in Niagara Falls. Everywhere, and it was an event, Dirty showed up. And always smile. I never seen him mad about anything. He was always
Ever,
silly.
ever.
Always silly. Uh Never had any type of look or body language that you wouldn't want to approach him. Always joking, clowning around, and I can remember another story. I remember it was hot as hell walking from the annex, and Dirty O was driving. He pulled up next to me. He was like, "Hey, David, you tired of walking?" And I'm like, thinking he gonna give me a ride. He in the car by himself. We live on the same street. And he was like, then I was like, yep. He said, well, start running it. I was like, wow. And he peeled off. Like, okay, I got you. But what could I really do? He was my big brother. So I just had to, get on this case when I got back to North Avenue. But and I can tell you this also with him far as me becoming an author, every time he had an event that he was in charge of, he would inbox me like, "Yo, David, what you doing? I'm having this Father's Day event. I'm having this event, this Black History event. You want to come get a table and sell your books or whatever?" So he was always for people, and we lost
Yeah, yeah.
a good one that was active and visible, and you know the sun was always shining on him, and it's unfortunate that they say the good die young. That we lost, we lost a good one right there. And rest in peace, Dirty. And shout out and condolences to your family and all the North Avenue people and the host of people that's going through it because of his loss. Because he was a fixture at Niagara Falls for our generation growing up.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, one of the few people our age that's been in involved in politics quietly for a very long time. So I'll echo what you said because I don't have too many personal dealings with him, but I I'm well aware of what he what he's done or what he did, and his place in this city, is cemented. So and a lot of people, and I'll add this: a lot of people don't realize um around the time that you, or at least us anyway, Gen X people, around the time you start to turn 23, 24 is when you really, we started to make our mark, whether it was coming out of high school, coming out of college, getting jobs, uh, doing for other people. And it's not until you get to be about 35 that you actually start to realize what that means. You know, we got a lot of people at that age in this particular generation, they don't really seem to understand that that's where you start to build your foundation that people are going to look back upon and say, you know what? We didn't realize what we were going to become because nobody ever sat down and talked to us about it. When we were younger, we knew career day in high school. People were talking about college selection, where you going, what you plan on being. I don't know if that stuff is done anymore. Like I rarely hear about career day, even though I'm, far removed from high school, of course. But I don't hear students talking about that. I don't hear people talking about, what they want to be when they grow up, what they aspire to do. They don't even talk about traveling. And I've always said, and I'll continue to say that if you want to get a child excited about something, have them travel. And I'm not talking about, and now where I'm talking about taking somewhere where things are different. The music's different. The food's different. Even the way that they sound when they speak is different because they're like, what is this? This is America? Because simply put, a lot of people just don't know. That's why the term the ugly American exists. When we go overseas as Americans, we're thought to be ignorant. we're thought not to know anything about the world around us. So, being that I work where I do, and I encounter a lot of international travelers, I remember somebody coming from Indonesia, an Indonesian passport. Oh, you're from Indonesia, and they look and they say, I said, yes, Jakarta's the capital, and they're floored because the reputation about us has surpassed any place that we might have been as individuals. So, and I'll just a sidebar. Just recently, I've been listening to a lot of World War II old, um I guess I'll call them stories from people who were the stories have been retold about how Japan was saved from starvation, how the German soldiers were treated after they surrendered, and things of that nature. And a lot of people, despite the losing the term, despite the stories they were told, or the ah jeez, forgetting the term. Anyway, the stuff they were told about Americans had proven to be false. Just like most of what we hear about black men being deadbeats and everything else. Notice you don't hear about that anymore. Notice you don't hear about dead men being black beats. Dead men being black beats. Black men being deadbeats. To get my words mixed up here. That's in part because of the work that Black Manospheres did. So all of this stuff we talk about, all of the stuff that we say that you should get kids open and exposed to, there's a particular reason behind it. It may not make sense now, which is what we're going to probably get into next year. We're telling you how all this stuff comes together and how it all plays out down the road, because this is what we always try and get people to understand. We try and get people to understand that what you put into your mouth, what you put into your mind via social media, music, television, all that becomes linked as you get older. So when you get older, you start to look back on these things. You say, oh, wait a minute. I didn't know this was that, and that's what this meant. And you start putting things together, and you say, that's why my father used to say this. That's why my mother used to say this. And just simply put, we didn't know a lot of this stuff. We just, okay, we're going to go along to get along. And then you realize, oh, okay, I got it.
It's a lot to be told, a lot of history put in place, and each year as we climb this mountaintop, been through a lot. Uh, with 2025, certainly, again, like I said, highs and lows, and but you know, I guess the key thing is as long as you have your health and you're feeling good, that there's always promise. Like some of us, man, I tell you, and because I only could speak reference to Niagara Falls or Buffalo, and I don't know people from, even though I've been here for 20 years, but it's not like I see people consistently, other than my coworkers or former coworkers. When I come to the falls and I see people and I see the struggle and I see these people riding on motor scooters and walking around with the walkers and all that stuff, and they're our age, I'm like, wow, man, wow. As much as it make me sad, it also motivate me to like to stay sharp
Yeah.
and keep going, because I'm like, man, there's no way at 50 something you should be broken down like that. And I contribute a lot of that is to environmental or people that you be around, that like, if one person, if you're broken down and you're broken down physically and mentally, and you're someone that's, relatively still healthy and still mentally sharp, it's not a good mix to be around those type of people, because sooner or later you'll fall victim. And I use that as a tool of motivation. Like, it's all it takes for me to be there 4 or 5 days. And I'm like, but I love my hometown. I
Uh,
love seeing people, but all it takes is 4 or 5 days for me to recharge and be like, yo, you got to keep pushing forward. You not going to be like this. You will not be like this. And you got to do it. And as each year goes by, you know, of course, it's that time of the year. People like, oh, 2026, I'm going to save money. I'm going to lose weight. I'm traveling. I'm doing this or doing that. Let's be real. Has something changed financially? Have you came up on a come up that you could put away more money to travel, to do all this? Or is it like, shit, I'm just going to do this regardless and I don't care of the circumstances? Because you know what happened when you don't pay a bill and you want to go on a trip and you do all that? That stress catch up with you. It catches up with you.
yeah,
You enjoy those 3, 4 days or the weekend, and it's all good. But sooner or later down the road, that shit catches up. Now your ass in a bind like Nate. I'm in a bind, Nate, like Smoke. What's his name? Was it Smokey? Not Smokey. Stony was. From Menace. Was it Menace? Menace? That was Menace Society. My bad. Set it off. Set it off.
oh, yes, he said
She
that.
said, I'm in a bind, Nate. Sooner or later, you're going to be in a bind. You're going to be in a bind. And you have to think about all of these things as we push toward 2026. And granted, the administration that we have from the top, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff being cut, a lot of things at the jobs that you used to could get or whatever they penny pension. And again, like I shared with her before the show, I just got offered like early retirement. So they trying to downsize and get rid of people that make a decent salary that is at a certain age. Like, y'all got to go. And either we cut y'all position and then bring in younger people that we could pay half
Yep.
or eliminate that position. It's getting real out.
Yeah.
It's getting real out here. But y'all don't understand it. Some of y'all just think it's a game. And yeah, I think y'all this or that. But then again, um, nobody beats father time. When you got stress on your plate, you can age real quick out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. Let me see what the doc is saying. Indeed, your health is your wealth for real. Yepper, and for me, it's definitely keeping my eyes and brain open and sharp. So, boys in the hood. And wow. Yeah, that's what it's all about. And again, people, when they get I just often laugh, whatever on social media, the stuff that's posted and all of this, and how people carry on and they be celebratory and all that stuff. But you really know, and you might know, got some inside sources. Your life ain't really like that. Your life ain't really like that. And people need to stop wearing that mask because we always talk about that mask peeling off and
Yeah.
shit catching up with you. So I'm gonna get off the soapbox. I'm gonna pass it on to the big bad wolf. But we gonna recap a little bit about 2025 here in the counselor's corner. But I'm gonna give him an opportunity to add on to what I said.
No, man. It's funny because because I just turned 54, so I need to start in earnest investing now. Even though I don't have that kind of money put away, I'm in a pretty good position because I only have to take care of me. So I empathize for people who are, married couples who have to figure out how to finance their education for their kids who don't qualify for certain federal and state aid. They got to make it happen. Whether you start locally, send your child to a community school because it's always cheaper And then if you want to send them out of state, hopefully by then you will you will amass something. And I always tell people, especially the younger people, if you have kids, and they're under the age of 8 or 9, for their well-being, for their financial well-being, and at least their immediate financial future, open a 529 savings plan. I can't stress that enough. Does two things. One, it's going to lower your tax burdens that you're paying out of your paycheck. Number two, is going to give your kid a head start when they start to graduate high school. And by that, I mean this. If they don't go to the military, which is always a viable option, I don't care what anyone says, they don't go to work. If they go to college, they will have the means to do one or two things: pay towards their education, or if they're commuting, get a very dependable and mechanically sound vehicle. Sometimes, depending on when they start that like if you start your 529 savings plan the moment your child is born, you're ahead of the game. You started when they're in the fourth, fifth grade, you're gonna do okay. If you started when they're juniors, I'm sorry, freshmen or sophomores coming into high school, you're not gonna have a whole lot. It's always the old adage: the early bird gets the worm. And the reason why I talk finances is because a lot of people just don't get it, especially a lot of people that look like us. These tools are out there and they're available, but we just don't utilize them. And I'm always going to talk finances till I'm blue in the face. Uh, we had a gentleman on last week, Dane, and Dane's talking about coming back and talking about finances in an extended manner. And we'll probably set that up because money makes the world go round. I think that was the Stylistics make that song. Well, no, that's people make the world go round. Money makes the world go round. Green people, you gotta figure out a way to allow the money that you make to make more money. They talk about the streams of income, and that's one of them. Investment, and whether it's stocks, crypto's coming along, and a lot of people, they're doing well with crypto. So if crypto scares you, find somebody who you can trust that's that understands how to invest in crypto. And hey, the money that you spending on a Big Mac now, because Big Mac is $8. I saw that in McDonald's. I was like, are you kidding me? $8 for a Big Mac. I remember when Big Macs were like 89 cents, maybe $1. $8. I'm like, yo,
yeah, they robbing folks now.
man. It's funny because I was coming back. I was coming back from dropping off a U-Haul. I was moving some things and picking up some carpets for my floor in my living room. And a gentleman was in there with his wife and his son, and he said it cost me $40 to feed my family. Now I'm thinking he had like 4 or 5 heads. I said, "Who'd you buy for?" He said, "Me, my wife, and my son." I said, $40? He said, "Yeah, Big Mac cost 8." Went over to the kiosk, punched it in. I said, "Oh, no wonder they're able to pay these workers 14 to 15 an hour." But those jobs are going to dry up soon, just like David's. Oh no, I'm sorry. I was taking a shower, and I was listening to BGS, and the gentleman was talking about hopefully he gets his job back at Amazon. And BGS was saying, yeah, that Amazon has been looking to go dark for a long time. And for a lot of people who don't understand what that term means in a factory sense, it means that they're moving to eliminate all human personnel to where everything's going to be mechanized. Punching numbers, you have a couple people there to do maintenance, just to make sure things are running. And that's it. You talk about a skeletal crew, you're going to have. Go ahead, Dave.
No, you can see that right now. Even you
Yeah.
talk about McDonald's, whatever. That's why all these places went to gas.
Mhm.
That they don't have the register. They might have one register open, and you got to punch everything in, and then if you might have people in the back, but those days is over, and is as the opportunity presents for a lot of jobs, that's what they're gonna do. So some of y'all, You're like, oh, I work from home. If you can't get in your job and you work from home, it probably won't last for it won't last forever.
Yeah.
Those positions won't last. Let me read the doc's comment. She said, don't be a foreigner. If the paperwork is not in order, they can't get financial aid to go to school. Many of my students, many of my students are in this situation. Yeah, and that's unfortunate because a lot of times kids want to go to school, but they rely on their parents to fill out the financial aid paperwork, and it doesn't happen. And unless you offer opportunity that the parents they're willing to come in, and you have workshops or something like that, it may not get done. So a lot of
Yeah.
kids lose out on opportunities like that because they ass worried about something else, and it's financial aid night Thursday night, and they worried about the local happy hour that's going on instead of stopping in the school. And I'm being facetious saying that, and that's not all. But I know that some people they're thinking about the wrong things at the wrong time. So let's talk a little bit about what we covered in the counselor's corner in 2025 because like I said we did some monumental things for us. Other people may say, oh, that's nothing, but anytime you set goals and you accomplish and you're getting bigger and you're growing, it's all good. It's all good. um, so we started off in 2025 with a banger, the ultimate choice to marry, to divorce, or stay single.
And that's still a
Mm.
topic, hot contentious topic.
Yeah. So it was a choice. Like, what you want to do in 2025? You want to get married, stay single, or divorce? We covered that. Some people, they always going to want to push toward marriage. But when you push towards that, you got to make sure everything else is lined up. See, you can't push towards that and then have all these other things, distractions in place that you gotta, oh, I gotta chip in here, I gotta chip in there. Because if you push toward marriage, you gotta be locked in. You
Mhm.
gotta be focused. And that gotta be your goal. It can't be, oh, I got a dip in here. Oh, I got this. Oh, I got that going on. I got that going on. It ain't gonna work. It's not gonna work. If you want to be single, you be single. I mean, the choice is yours, but people have to understand, like, what am I built for?
Yeah.
What moves I'm gonna make? What am I designed for? And I think a lot of times people are not ready for that. So we kicked off the year talking about that. Some of you probably like still stuck in the mud at an impasse, but you're yelling out, "I want to get married." Yeah, I ain't talking to nobody unless they talking about marriage. As I used to say, get the fuck out of Dodge unless you did something yourself to create something that somebody wants to marry. Nobody's gonna marry or get close to somebody when you got a world of problems.
Yeah. A lot of people they don't understand that. And I'm gonna follow just what Dave said. Yes, marriage is a choice. Being single, somebody will say is a choice, and I will ask them, why is being single a choice? Not being in a relationship? Yeah, that's a choice. But there's a lot of people who are single because they don't know how to be in a relationship. So they believe if they can't get something, then you know what? They don't need to be here. They don't need to be there. And the first thing that a lot of people need to understand, and Dave just said this, is what do you want and what do you offer? Because you can't talk about pulling a wagon when you don't have a horse. And then there's some people, well, I got a horse. Okay, what kind of harness does it have? What kind of hookup does it have? Well, what do you mean by that? Let's see, if your mare's ready, you would already understand. It would not have to be explained to you. You would understand that you got your carriage, you got your horse, you got the saddle, you got your hook up for the wagon to be pulled. You set. You just wait for somebody to say, hey, you know what? I like what you're working with. I got a wagon here. I got some grain in here. We can get our plot of land. We can start to do what we do. But a lot of people, they just don't see it. They don't see the goal because they never set one. They never started out and say, okay, you know what? I want to do this, 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 and this. They don't find somebody else who's aligned with them. They find somebody else who might be aligned with them, and they don't sit down and have that conversation. They don't sit down with this person to have a heart to heart. Like Dave said earlier about the mask flipping. They want to wear that mask. And then all of a sudden, when you get involved in a relationship and that mask flipping, that individual's like, you're not what I thought you was going to be. So now we headed to divorce because neither one of us did our due diligence on the other person to see what was really behind the goal or behind the decision to get married. Now, I personally, even at my age, I don't rule out marriage, but I understand for me what that's going to mean. And some people will say, well, what is that going to mean to you? That's going to mean to me that I'm going to still have to work. Because personally speaking, this is just the big bad wolf speaking. I do not expect a woman to come into this home or any home that I own and do the whole 50-50 thing. Yes, you hear me say that. Now, don't take what I say and try to apply that to other men, because some men aren't built like that. The reason why I can say that is because I've been doing this on my own for 20 some odd years. I've never lived with anybody. Everything that you see in this house, everything that comes through this house, on my back. My lack of sleep, that's why I'm starting to get the dark circles under my eyes, because I put in those hours. Even right now, I'm working 60 hours a week. So I'm more than capable of carrying a household. The question is, what am I doing it for? And more importantly, why am I doing it? See, some people want to ask some questions of themselves, not anyone else, but ask that question of yourself. Why would someone want to get with me? Why would someone want to bed down with me if I can't support myself, if I can't pull my own weight? If you can't pull your own weight, then man, as I'm gonna say this to the listener audience, as a man, if you ain't pulling your own weight, don't expect a reputable female to want to bed down with you, because women aren't trying to get in a relationship to work harder. Sorry. Most of them are trying to get into a relationship to work. Kevin Samuels brought us out night after night after night for years, trying to get you brothers to understand that. No, I'm not saying you got to be a six-figure man. Shout out to BGS. BGS says this. You just got to find a woman that's on your page. You have to find a woman that's going to be willing to work within your pay scale. Now, if she wants something more, she's going to have to go out and earn it. But that's when you tell her, you say, hey, look, this is the books. This is what I make. This is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. If she's willing to work with that, you move on to the next step. Now, if she says, well, I want a little more, well, ask her, how much are you willing to contribute to that little more? And some of the fellas, we get blinded by a big old derriere, a cute face, and we say, man, I got to have it. Okay, that's fine. But just like David said earlier, be ready for that stress. And when that stress catches up with you, when you miss a mortgage payment or you late on the car payment and the repo man show up, actually, the repo man ain't even showing up anymore. They just lock your car up. it's like your car up. Your wife might be shopping and she can't get the car started. You say, oh, shoot, I'm late on the payment. You call a dealer. They say, well, you late on the payment. The payment was due 2 weeks ago. He said, can I have an extension? We gave you an extension, 2 weeks. That's what you're looking at. So I'm telling you, if you're gonna get into a marriage situation, do it with your eyes wide open. Open up the books and don't be afraid to be short. I'm gonna tell you now, because some men will say, well, what if she clown me? She can't clown you if you're living in the reality. If you living in truth, and I always say this and I'll say it again, there's only two things somebody can say about me. One is a lie, which I don't even acknowledge, and two is the truth. Acknowledge the truth of your situation. And you go see your stress level deplete. Because you know what you got to do. You know where you got to go to get what you want. And when you do that, people going to see you. They're going to say, you know what, every time I see that cat, he working. Every time I see her, she grinding. Every time I see this, every time I see that. That's what they was talking about with us getting to 1,000. I didn't know if we was going to do, but I said, you know what? I'm not going to stop pushing. We got to go. We're going to keep moving towards that goal. And once we get to that goal, we're going to set another goal. Some of y'all don't have goals. Y'all just out here moving day to day, saying, I got this to do. I got that to do. Shout out to my boy Carnell. He said something that I never really thought about. He said, people living in Niagara Falls, he said, because of the lack of sunny days we have as a climate throughout the year, he said, you need to get out of the city and travel at least 3 times a year. I said, damn. I said, you know what? I said, that's wild. Because I remember when I was much younger, at least all total, I would probably spend about 10 days a year just out of the city, whether I was in Toronto or I would go to New York or whatever the case was, whether I was going down south for family reunions. And I always got out. And every time I would come back, people would just say, you changed. No, I'm not changed. I'm just reflecting on what I saw, what I want. And it's a different feeling. It allows you to get out of the morass that's here. Because like David said, you see, he come back and you see people our age and walkers. And I see it too. And I'm floored. I'm like, damn, you're 6-7 years older than I am, and you can't get around without a cane. You can't get around without a mechanized scooter. You can't get around. I'm just like, yo, I really living that bad. And some people are. They are, and mostly it's because of the people they associate with. They don't do anything. They don't talk about anything. They don't go anywhere. And they busy trying to, let me kind of goose up the expression or take from the expression, if you will. They're too busy trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. This is why it's important that the people you hang out with are doing things, because when you see them do things, they can say, hey, look, man, I got to go get this done. You can sit around and you start looking around, and you can say, damn, everybody doing something, but here I am sitting around doing nothing. I'm drinking OE, chasing it with shots of Hennessy and E&J. You can say, I got to stop that, man. Because honestly, that's what it becomes, man. You start to emulate more what you're around. This is why you don't see. It's like the old lyrics in the song. It wasn't me and the money or the fortune, it was the fame by EPMD. He said, my father always told me to wisen up, sons, because if you hung around with 9 broke friends, you're bound to be the 10th one. So that's why I tell people, I said 99.9% of the time, when you see me by myself. And that's not because I'm too good to hang out with people in Niagara Falls. No, quite the opposite. There just aren't a lot of people who I see that are going my way, that are doing the thing that I used to do. My boys out of town and my other boys married. Essentially, my boys are married with families and things. I'm one of the few that's not married, no kids. So my life path is a little different than theirs. But if I want to see them hang out, I'll give them a call.
Hold up, Herb. Sound like you got to get you a wife up in there. Had to throw that in there.
I'm not opposed to it, like I said earlier, but the circumstances in her Let's speak about what a potential wife of the big bad wolves will look like. Number one, and I already and I said this, so I can't be roasted. She can't be able to conceive. Sorry, that's just the way that shit go down. I'm
No
not trying.
kids. No
Yeah,
kids at this point.
it's not the no kids thing. She can't be able to conceive. She must not have any minor children under her roof. Can she have children? Absolutely. As long as they're adults and as long as they ain't sleeping at the house overnight.
Mm.
Yes, I said overnight. Why? Because I like my privacy. I like being able to go to the bathroom with the door open. Some people gonna say, "Oh, that's nasty." No, that's freedom. That's what I define as freedom. Being able to use the bathroom with the door open. You don't like it? I understand. It ain't for everyone. Now, aside from not being able to have children, not having minor children of her own living with her, um, she's gonna have to be forthcoming with um I don't want to say emotions because I'm a demanding man, but I'm only demanding in certain aspects. And one of course is obviously you gotta let me have my football. You can't bother me on Sundays.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Because I'm not on the streets. I'm not a drunkard. I work hard. I ain't got kids all over the place, and I ain't running the streets hitting every female that move, or even trying to hit every female that move. So if I'm home or wherever I go to watch football, let me watch football in peace. Because the house is gonna be kept up. You're not gonna have anything to complain about. And she's gotta have her own life too. I mean, a lot of people they get relationships and they forget their friends. I think that's the worst thing that you could possibly do. You were an individual before we met. Maintain that individuality. So if you go bowling on Wednesdays, continue to go bowling on Wednesdays. Don't interrupt the parts of your life that made you you. Just like when I started dating a female some years ago, she told me, she said, "Look, I always have a girls' trip. You know, we go every year, etc. Et cetera. Cool, it's no problem." And I know some guys will say, "What? You don't have a no?" Because if that's what she did before she met me, why should she have to change unless what she's doing puts her at imminent risk of harm? I think I'm a good judge of character. So I said, you know what? And at the time, she's working two jobs. She's much like I am now, holding down her own home. I got no reason to say no. I got no reason to complain. A lot of people, they don't understand that. And dare I borrow the biblical principle of equally yoked. This is why I always say, I'm not going to get into a relationship with a female who doesn't have at least what I have. So, do you have your own place? Check. You got your own source of income? Check. No kids in your home? Check. I'll go back and say you got some fellas who because they want to they want to put some cream in that cannoli. They don't want to run off quote unquote a female that they think is a good woman or attractive. Well, she's not a good woman for you if she don't meet your bare minimum standards. They have your standards. You're supposed to have your own. And this is why it trips me out when I see that because when I first heard women talking about bare minimum, I was like, bare minimum.
We had that show about bare minimum. I don't know if it was in 2025, but we had that show.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. So the thing becomes, what is it that you demand that a female has before you even decide to enter into a relationship, that kind of relationship with her, to the point where you could talk about, okay, you know, let's be exclusive. Okay, we've been exclusive for this period of time, has met with my expectations, when can we talk about marriage? And some people won't, they will not talk about marriage. They think it's taboo. Why? You're supposed to talk about these type of things because you're one, letting it know, letting it be known, pardon me, that this is the next logical step for us, unless you don't want it. And if that individual don't want it, then you have a decision to make. Do you want to continue a relationship that's not going to manifest itself in what you want, or do you want to, or do you want to go on about your way? Now, in that particular case, you're single by choice because you chose it in the relationship that you saw no end in it that was suitable for you. That would be the only time I would tell somebody that you're single by choice, is that you ended a relationship because it wasn't what you wanted long term. Everybody else talking about, well, I can't find the 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 person that wants me, and the person that, are you desirable? Does somebody want you that you just shun it? If not, sorry.
Life is real. And you know what came across my mind today? I had a presentation at an elementary school, and one of the teachers was, when I my first year at middle school. She, and actually her mother still works at the school now, but her her daughter, she's a teacher at the elementary. So when we were talking in introduction, she just like told the kids, like, yeah, he was my school counselor. So I was like, wow. I said, I'm just getting old because now she's a teacher and she's been teaching for a minute. And but I don't know, I didn't feel no weight. I felt like I felt good. Like this is a product of me being a counselor. Not saying I had anything to do with it, but I was a part of her evolution, and now she's teaching and things move forward. So when we keep talking about this stuff with relationships, career, health, it's about connectivity and putting yourself in a position or seeing people that, for me, I was like, man, it felt good. Like, man, I remember when I started off here at the middle school level, she was an eighth grader. And I'm just sitting back watching her handle her class. And I'm like, want to say thumbs up. You got them under control. Mind you, her mother's been working at the school, the previous school, and she's at the school. So I've been working with her mother for 12, 13 years. And I haven't had the opportunity to tell her, you did well. You put it, good work. And sometimes those little things mean a lot that we don't do because we caught up in rest in peace and stuff like that, or happy birthday, HBD. That's our acronyms: HBD, RIP, and all that stuff. And we talk about giving people flowers. You got to do it when the people is active.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait to um, it's to the total tragic result. We got to get better with that. But I'm gonna move forward with some of the things that, because we covered the one thing, we can make these things an epilogue and go on because we cover a lot. We talk about a lot. It's just not trendy gossip topics. This shit real life. That's why I enjoy the counselor's corner. It's real life, whether y'all like it or not. And I think people like it because I feel like me being a part of, I feel I'm well respected. I don't know what you can say, Big Bad Wolf. If people you see is like, hey, I seen you on YouTube or
Oh
whatever.
no, I definitely get the congratulations. Keep doing what you're doing, man. We
Yeah.
see y'all. We know we and the funny thing about it is this: there's not a lot of people from Niagara Falls. There's not a lot of black men from Niagara Falls who are willing, capable, and do put themselves out there for public consumption, public scrutiny, and dare I say it, ridicule. And trust me, there has been very little, if any, ridicule that I've heard from anybody who's listened to a show or anybody that's talked to me. They say, hey, look, man, we see y'all, man, and what y'all do, it is much needed. I know nobody talks about the things I talk about in a slow grinder, but they say keep grinding. So it always fills me with a sense of warmth and acceptance to say, hey, look, we are doing something that people see, they understood it's needed, but they're not going to talk about it amongst everybody else because, simply put, a lot of people don't think it's important. And that's what we always try and tell people, like David said, this is real life. You know, we don't talk about the hot topic things like Sharon Moore and the situation at Michigan, even though we did touch on the Shannon Sharp. But the reason why we touched on the Shannon Sharp was because it was big. It was part of the bigger picture, and how a lot of black men, ironically enough, get caught out there because shout out to BGS, they can't control their wine. And we talked about 2 weeks ago, I believe. We talked about how boys get caught up in that, and it's easy to do when what you witness on TV, what you hear in your music, what you see in your neighborhood is guys out here running around with these females, and these females getting pregnant, pushing children out into a home where there is no structure. The cycle just repeats itself, and they say, "Well, you ain't doing no different. You got kids all over the place. How are you in a position to tell somebody something and they calling you on what you did? Are you gonna say, okay, you know what? Look, don't take my life path. I fucked up. Are you gonna sit down and tell that young man that? Are you gonna sit down and say, hey, look, everything you see out here in these streets, it ain't pretty. Yeah, I got 4 kids by 3 different women. I fucked up, but I want better for you. Learn from what I did. Don't repeat what I did. Go out there and do something better. Your grades are good at school right now. I hear you sitting on an honor roll. Don't get that up because you're gonna be able to parlay that into something. You don't see it now. When you get to graduation, and you're sitting as either valedictorian or salutatorian, and you got schools coming after you, and they're offering you academic scholarships. Academic scholarships. They fighting for your mind. That's when life starts. So you go to school, you get in there, and all of a sudden now you can be bombarded with people throwing it to you. You're gonna have to learn how to say, you know what? Nah, I got a mission, and sex ain't my mission. And it's hard to do, especially as black men, because we're not taught that. We're not taught sexual restraint. Shout out to J.R. Wisdom and AC Sniper. They always talking about it on Facebook. We go back and forth, but we're not we're not taught that. And we've talked about this, I believe, the year before last when we talked about who taught you what it was to be a man, who taught you how to be a man. What did you learn? The who, what, where, when, why, and how. All of that becomes important because as we move farther away from, you know, the baby boomers, these lessons are lost, and ain't nobody to teach them. So if there's nobody to teach them these lessons, they'll never learn.
Well, a lot of times they don't want to. They don't want to hear it.
No.
So even as much as we talked about that subject, the ultimate choice, marriage, divorce, or stay single, that's the importance of it all. I don't know what the hell y'all talk about. I don't understand when you like, oh, I was with my friend for five, we hung out for 6, 7, 8 hours. Excuse my language, what the fuck y'all talked about? Uh, it got to be something concrete. See, I've been that way, so I always was like viewed as nerdy or whatever the case is, and had a mindset. I just don't want to waste words. You ain't talking about shit that interests me. I don't want to be a part of it. And I'm not due to your level just to be a part of that. You got to have something that engage me to say, I enjoy being around this person. Not because, oh, we've been together, we hung out, I've known you since childhood. Well, if you smoke crack
Yeah.
and you're a certified alcoholic and I'm on my up and up, we got to talk about. I'll give you some words of encouragement, but we don't have nothing to talk about like that. And that's that when we talk about the recap. But let's move forward. Second thing, we was talking about romance in the cubicle. Shit happened at work. It pops off. It's been popping off. Yeah, I know that. But it's one of those things that people sweep under the rug or don't want to speak to, but we know that it happens. Now, that's the case of Shaman Moore when Michigan put in place. You can't talk to no one, you can't have a relationship. And man, I don't like it's crazy that because what's his name? Was it Jim Harbaugh? Had in place in the contract that he was going to take over after
Right.
he left because Jim Harbaugh already knew he was going back to the NFL.
Mhm.
He already knew that because he'd been there and he was going back, and that's how it works. They can do whatever they want to. They can manipulate. They can go here and there. We don't have those opportunities. But when he put a brother in that position, you folded. You folded, man. And you had a nice contract.
Mm.
And you a top school, Michigan. And somebody set that up for you. Like in a part of his contract. Like when I leave or whatever the case is, he's going to be the head coach. You can handle it. Chasing skirts. Probably this number two scenario, the number one scenario in cocktail conversations. Chasing skirts. I know, Doc. We ain't talking bad about that. We just saying overall, because that could be at Northwestern, that could be at Harvard, that could be anywhere. But
we never talk bad about the maize and blue. I believe maize and blue, but
yeah, I like Michigan.
this speaks to the larger, and we were talking about this off air too. We were saying that the dominant society fathers set their sons up for success all the time. We talked about the Mannings. We talked about the Berries, Rick Barry, Drew Barry. I'm sorry, Rick Barry, Drew Barry, Rick Barry, um, his sons, the Mannings, and when a brother has it laid out for him, he louts it up. You and I can hear BGS saying you got to learn to control your wine. Yeah, dude, you were sitting at the cream of arguably one of the top 5 most prestigious football programs in this country. You got Notre Dame, Michigan, SC maybe, Ohio State. I'm trying to think of who else. Alabama.
Alabama, yeah.
Those are pretty much your top 5 college football programs in this country, historically speaking. Not just now, but historically speaking, because you can trace Alabama back to Bear Bryant. Ohio State, guys, them in Michigan, number 1 and 2. Notre Dame, Newt Rodney. I mean, UCLA, they play in the Coliseum, for goodness sakes. The Olympics have been held there, I think, twice. There's just certain opportunities that don't come along once in a lifetime. There are certain opportunities that are only available once in an existence. Something like this will never, and you can mark my words, they will never, ever happen again. And this is what happens when we, black men, get the opportunity to engage in something like this and mess it up. And I'll use another historical reference. Yeah. This is why Jackie Robinson was chosen to break the color barrier. Were there players that were better than Jackie Robinson? Absolutely. There were better baseball players, but there weren't people who had the temperament that he had that was necessary to be put out in front. And for people who haven't seen that movie, I would encourage you to see that movie. I'm going to mention a couple other men. Benjamin O'Banner, the colonel of the 332nd Pursuit Squadron. For those of you who don't know who that is, I'll use the common name, the Tuskegee Airmen. Silenced his entire time at West Point. Nobody would speak to him. These are the type of men that had to endure and walk through that door so others could come behind them. With Sharon doing this, no other brothers are going to ever get a chance at a major prestigious university to walk in on the heels of a Caucasian male giving his stamp of approval. Because now he's going to be questioned. And I would be remiss if I didn't shout out Roddy Gale. Man, you do my heart well with your son, man, and having that cat wearing amazing blue and they sitting where they are in the NCAA in terms of men's basketball. Shout out to you, your wife, Gail, and that young man. Y'all done and are doing a fantastic job. Y'all keep Niagara Falls on the map in terms of basketball. Salute to y'all, man. Just wanted to put that out there. But it becomes important, that we have to find the men who are worthy of our support. And we got to push them out in front and say, look, we understand that there have been some men that have come before us who have made bad decisions. But we're not all like that. Here's one that you can trust. Here's one that was raised by his mother and father. he was brought up in the ways that you shouldn't do things and how you should do things. That's why it becomes important.
And you know what? While you're giving out shout outs, I just, when we on the sports thing, and I think nobody wants, don't know about it, but in the ABA league,
Oh,
the Buffalo Extreme, Buffalo, New York, and it's a bunch of teams in the ABA league. And these are players that have been overseas, went to college, didn't get a chance. And I'm gonna pump it up because my nephew plays for 'em. The Buffalo Extreme is the number one team in the nation. The number one team in the nation. But nah, y'all don't go. And these games ain't low price. That y'all should come out and support that. Y'all sweating the Buffalo Bills. Y'all know what they gonna do. But you got a team that's number one in the nation. In the nation. And you got local players from Buffalo, Niagara Falls, and all that. On a Saturday at 7 o'clock, go there. If you ain't got nothing else to do, go support them. Go support them because they still chasing a dream.
mm,
I'm all about people chasing their dreams because I'm a dream chaser. Herb, a dream chaser. Dr. Anwar, a dream chaser. Um, Dr. Daphne, chasing our dreams. When you stop chasing your dreams, you stop living. And that's when all those health issues kick in, and you start fumbling and you start being less than what you are. But as long as you chase your dreams, you're gonna stay healthy. You're gonna keep fighting. Because some people, you hear them say, and I always think about the scenario when I was younger, and I used to go to Barnes and Nobles, and I was in working. I had my master's, but I was working on one of my certifications, and I would go to Barnes and Nobles, and you would listen to people talk, and it would be. And I remember this older guy said, "Man, I'm 55 years old. Well, I'm 55." And one of his buddies, he was saying what he's like, "You're interested? You got anything lined up as far as the dating game?" I said, "Man, I'm 55 years old. It's over with for me." And at the time, I might have been in my early 40s. I was like, damn, at 55, it's over? Well, I'm going to cross up a few people. Some people, it may be over. It's based on what you do with it at 55. If you're on a walker and you're on a scooter and you ain't working, it may be the case. Because ain't nobody knocking down at your door at that point. But I'm saying to say all this is we have to control our own destiny and put ourselves in positions. And I know I started off talking about the extreme because I think we need to put emphasis on certain things that's doing well. And celebrate those teams and individuals and propel them to greater heights. And that's the same thing with individuals that's pushing forward and they're part of stuff. But and I don't want to get into the negative aspect of some of the things that happen, but that's that. We had a whole lot to cover about this subject, but that's crazy that again in 2025, so much has happened, and where we left it, we talk about romance in the cubicle, and
Yeah.
even if we take it to the latter end of 2025, when we talked about the classroom culture in the counselor's corner, how that is. I deal with that every day, and I'm like, man, it's out of control. It's out of control. But the one thing I want to say is us having a voice to the parents. Listen, y'all can make videos, y'all can do this, you can do that. But the one thing your child's going to, they're going to have to understand structure, discipline,
Yeah.
on no matter where they go, no matter where they go. So you think it's cute, you could cuss out a teacher, you could come up there, you did this or do that. They still got to go to the next level. And each level, it gets harder. When they get to high school, you ain't, they don't have to deal with the bullshit at high school. You can go to alternative ed. They can go to school from 6 to 10 and be 14 years old, sitting around at the house all day while you at work. Then you get off work, you got to rush them to night school. They can be on some self-paced program. It's it's real out here. The different things, the different options, which you may say don't work for you, but it's real. Like as you get older, you may have more opportunities, but some of the opportunities may just be a consistent thing. Like, oh, okay, we could throw him in there, or we could do there, and you don't benefit. I know y'all thinking like, well, is this a recap? But the recap is that these are some of the things that we're going through, and probably going to continue in 2026. We can still have these same conversations. That, hey, what you gonna do? What you gonna do as parents when we're talking about certain things at the elementary, middle school, high school level, and we giving y'all game for free. Go ahead, Herb.
Hmm. No, and I'm gonna follow that up because I'm gonna tell you two things. And I'm not sure how many people are aware of this, but when I was 16, I dropped out. I had a situation that occurred. I thought it was handled poorly. My mother wasn't really able to do a whole lot in terms of that. But yeah, no, I dropped out. I dropped out. I was going to Lace Senior. I remember this is when the basketball team started their 10 in a row dominance of the NFL. Stands for Niagara Frontier League, just so y'all understand. And I remember towards the latter part of the year, I got in a situation. I won't rehash that, and I didn't go back. It was intermittent, and never went back to school. And I remember sitting at home after cartoons would go off and watching Hogan's Heroes and all those other TV shows that would come on WNYO TV Channel 49. National Tractor Trailer School commercials were playing. I'm saying to myself, yo, look, there's got to be more to life than this. And this was me at 16, 17 with this thoughts. I'm just like, there's got to be more. So next year, because 89, 88, 89 was my first year. Went back 89, 90, man. Got back in, went back and finished and graduated. Yeah, I was 20, almost turning 21. The reason why I say that is this is because I understood the structure that was necessary. I just didn't agree with how the structure was being applied, shall I say? Because I thought I was the victim. I was like, look, I can't be assaulted and then be suspended for being struck. I'm saying nowhere that I know of punishes somebody for being Principal wasn't hearing any part of it. I can't remember the principal's name at that time when I was at LaSalle. But anyway, make a longer story shorter. So I went back and graduated. But that structure is necessary because even when things go wrong, there's a way that you can handle it so the outcome is favorable to you and to your cause. Now, I could have acted like a just a brat and tore up his office and went down there and made a scene, but I didn't. Now, I can't necessarily say that boded well when I went back, but it certainly didn't hurt. And this is a lot of what these younger parents and these kids in this particular generation don't understand. They think going down there, showing their ass and making a scene works, and it doesn't. I'm here to tell you it doesn't. It has the opposite effect. They say, you know what? We don't want to deal with these parents. We don't want to deal with these students. And if that means we got to send you to an alternative school, that's what we're going to do because you're no longer in our care. We still get the money for you being present because that's what it's about at the end of the day. But we don't have to deal with you being a malcontent. And that's what. So when David talks about these kinds of things, this is what he's talking about. I'm like I said, I'm gonna tell you firsthand. Don't go out to schools and buildings and things of that nature, even places of businesses misbehaving. Because once you do that, you're labeled and you are never going to get anything. And I'm saying this as a person who's worked in the food industry, who's seen people try and get out of hand. I'm just like, mm, mm, mm. Try with the wrong person and watch what happens. Because I've had some people that they wanted to get sideways with me, and I'm just like, look, especially when I was doing security, and I won't mention the place. I tell them, look, I get out at 7 o'clock. Anytime you want to throw the fair ones, meet me at the employee entrance. But it's ever taking me up on that now. I'm not saying just because I go by the moniker of the big bad wolf that I was about handing out ass whoopers after taking names. But my mom didn't raise no punk, and I wasn't no pushover. And I was just tell people, look, don't let this polyester cotton blend blue shirt get you hemmed up.
Hmm.
I can throw them things when I need to. I just don't want to need to.
Big Shank, my cousin, my fam. He said, "What's up, fam? What's good, cousin?" Doctor Anwar said, "Did you guys see the student slap that teacher? I think he got charged as an adult." And I missed that. There's so much teacher, student things I can't even keep up with it. Once I walk in a school building, even at the middle school level, because in my school it's 1,300 students, massive school,
Mm.
3 towers, 3 floors at a middle school. So once I walk in, take off my garments, turn on my walkie, it's on and popping all day long. A lot of people don't understand that. They may say, "Well, when I went to school, it wasn't like that." Even when you're dealing with individual adult individuals, and you tell them about your day, like it's nonstop. It's ridiculous. Uh, if you're luckily favorable to the students, that I'm able to cope because some people are not favorable and they have to deal with that shit constant all day long. See, I can nip it in the bud after a while, but some people they don't have that opportunity. But it's wild. So when we think about the recap and we look at all this stuff, a lot of it has to do with when we talked about the latter end about the disrespectful culture
Mhm.
in the schools. We closed out the year on that. But even if you go back to the beginning of the year, all this all this stuff intertwined. Man, I'm trying to get my notes together. All this stuff intertwined because you don't get to a certain point. You got to start from somewhere. And we said romance in a cubicle. Then we talked about the OnlyFans effect, how women are leveraging the platform for financial freedom. Well, well, well. If Mom Dukes is doing it and you coming through and your little princess observing stuff, what do you think she's gonna do? What do you think she's gonna do? Especially if you have men in and out your space.
Mm-hmm.
These kids, you think they sleeping? They don't sleep worse. They don't miss a damn beat. I
Yeah,
can tell
Dr.
you that.
Dunbar beat me to it. I was just thinking about it. Yeah, man. I saw that. I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. You got to be kidding. At 54, and I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you, David.
No, no. What you said, Stacy Dash. So she out there.
Yes, she's got an OnlyFans.
Uh, yeah. So this all it all ties in together. We talk about it. It's all connected. But yeah, I don't want to hear that. But when you think about it, OnlyFans, because sooner or later, some of these guys they got get tired of looking at these shriveled up raisin bodies. I know my body ain't all that, but they will decide. We already talked about this stuff before, so I'm not holding back. Closing out the year, we talked about guys coming in a household and you're dealing with the woman, but you got a teenage daughter and their eyes on that daughter,
Mhm.
eyes on that daughter, and this what happens. So if your daughter say, I don't know what my mother do, because a lot of times I ask kids, so what do your mother do? I don't know. What you mean you don't know? You don't know where she work at? No, they don't have no idea because you don't have that conversation. Kids who see their parents work on the regular thing, they know where their parents work. They know what they do.
Yeah.
But when you say to a kid, what do your parents do? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know it. Suspect city. So this is the type of stuff that we talked about in 2025. That's only going to get worse in 2026 because people are going to lose jobs. The same opportunities is not going to be there. We're in a bind, Nate. Yeah, we're gonna have to deal with that. So we try to talk about it, but y'all ain't listening. Y'all ain't listening. Then y'all come back and y'all be like, "Damn, yeah, I did catch a glimpse of that." But go ahead, Big Bad Wolf, add your piece to it.
I don't know if there's anything I need to add, man. It's some a lot of people will say, well, they always talk about a specific things or it seems like the same. That's because life is repetitive. Before OnlyFans, it was Playboy and Hustler. Ask your fathers about Playboy and Hustler, Hugh Hefner and the Playboy Mansion to see what they tell you. Now it's OnlyFans. What's going to be the new exploitative thing that people are going to take advantage of to make money? Because at the end of the day, that's what it becomes about. The the, the topic cubicle romance. What do you think that's about? It's not about trying to stop people from getting together. It's about having an environment to where they don't have to worry about lawsuits from people suing for sexual harassment. That's what it's about. Do you think they really concerned about who's sleeping with who? Give a damn about that. But they don't want that stuff blowing up in the workplace. This is why I always talked about NDAs, but they thought I was crazy. Y'all didn't see the bigger picture. Y'all didn't understand that just because you messing with the person next door or next cubicle, that everybody in the office has to know. Derek Jeter put this to use to great effect. There are people that were a little displeased with what's the name's daughter for having the same thing with the guy she's messed with. I don't blame her because some of these men nowadays they're worse than the women. The brother who played um in the Rocky movies, Michael B. Jordan or Michael B. Jordan had a first date with a female. She gave it up to him, and now he bashing this chick. I'm like, dude, that's just low grade, man. That's low grade, low brow. I don't care who you are. I've always said that. Look, if that female is willing to put out that night, take it under advisement, man. You ain't got to blow that female in. You ain't got to make that female feel some kind of way. And if you do, consider yourself that man. Because she may not do that with everybody. I know if a female's feeling like that toward me, I'm like, oh, I got something that she likes. Whatever it was, whatever it is, that's the way she feels. And you know what? That's gonna stay between us. But you got too many fellas out here now that are behaving like women and they're trying to chase clout for clicks.
Go.
Ain't the way you get down.
That remind me, which I don't know. It may be relative just to my school, but again, I tie everything, I connect everything together, and you know how we talk about women being too masculine, and y'all say women. You know, a lot of women say men are being too feminine. Whereas there's a thing in my school that the students call men cis, a girl. So a couple of my students were like, nah, sis, like, who are you talking to? Like, but I have all these dialogues going on. So I'm like, hmm, like they really, and mind you, these are middle school kids. They're really viewing as men as women and vice versa. And it's scary because when you don't look at men as protectors, they're viewing you as cis, a girl, and I'm like, yo, stop. And I say, like, just today, they're like, girl, like, who are you talking to? Like, and then I was like, so do you? And I asked one student, I said, so do you view your father as girl or cis or your uncles? And they say, well, I call them that too. And they just look at me like I'm crazy, but shit is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. But this is what we turned it into because you know why? Because y'all say, oh, he, she, pronouns, and all of that. That these kids are confused. That they can call a grown man that they know. He ain't on that side of the fence, but we can call him cis and we can call him girl because y'all set it up like that.
Yeah.
And this is what y'all wanted. So now you got a dilemma in that cis girl. Until you meet somebody who go to hell off and be ready to strangle somebody because y'all decided to say he, she, pronoun, he, she, him, them, their. Wrong choice, man. Wrong choice. Yeah, not picking and choosing y'all right battles in this, man. And this is where 2025 has come. That I'm cis,
Yeah.
a girl. Do I look like any of them? But That's what's happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's, and I don't know why it's so prevalent now, but I see the term and I'm just like, yeah, they're operating somewhere that I ain't never been. I'm not trying to go and have it. Do what y'all want to with it. Just leave me out of it. It it's just weird how a lot of this starts to surface, and it almost seems that it's with the younger generations, like they have their almost have their own lexicon, if you will, of things that are just coming up, and adults don't know nothing about it. Now I know when we were coming up, dope and fat and cool and gird, yeah, those were our words. I guess that these are their words, and when we hear, we just like, did we really talk like that? Did we really behave like that? And sometimes it's like, yeah, but we weren't that bad. We knew what lines to cross, like you said, and we knew what lines didn't cross because somewhere you got checked. Somewhere in that process, somebody would have pulled you aside and said, "Hey, what is wrong with you?" Then the speaker got tight, and you said, "Okay, you know what? I know who to play with, and I know who not to play with." Now they think everybody's fair game. They think you can say something about anyone, and ain't nobody gonna clap back. And the clap back is real for a lot of people. And it's just like, okay, mothers want to get in a grown man's face and talk about, well, why you say that to my daughter? Do you understand what your daughter said to me? I don't care. She's 14. Correct. And so she needs to behave like somebody that's 14. And that's a problem we have with a lot of parents nowadays is they want to allow their children to behave as adults until they do something. And somebody wants to call them out on it. And then they want to pull them back and say, well, they're only kids. If they're only kids, then they should be doing what kids do and what I call age appropriate behavior. If they engage in the age inappropriate behavior that's not for their age, then that's a problem and it needs to be addressed. And more often than not, it's not going to be addressed at home. And this is why it ends up in school. And then when the school addresses it, they say that's too harsh. Should thought about that some time ago when they were still in diapers and they were just in their infancy, and you didn't do that.
Yeah. So, it, you might say, "Oh, this not in sequence," but we're trying to touch on things that's happening in 2025 to recap that hit our comfort zone. But I also want to say, shout out to the we had a couple live interviews. Nisi Carter Ellis, who been keeping the attitude flowing, personal testimonies. She was in the counselor's corner this year, and also like Shanine Sykes, nurse practitioner, psychiatric, mental health, pushing that in Niagara Falls because we do realize there's a lot of people got mental illnesses. They just never been diagnosed with
Yep.
it, but mental health is real. And she's been pushing that. And we interviewed her and we had a very productive back and forth conversation.
Yeah, that
Uh,
was really good. I enjoyed that one thoroughly.
and we relish her, calling you out, Shanine, to come on back, come on back in 2026. And then we closed out the year with Dwayne with Earn for Keeps about financial goals because oftentimes, a lot of times people say, oh, money don't matter or whatever the case is. Money matters a lot. And that's a precipitator of stress. And most people stress over that or they turn to certain outcomes that's not favorable because finances. Who are we fooling? Who are we fooling? But then again, you can have the most money in the world and you do stupid shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but it matters. Money matters. It's how you handle it or what you do with it. So we covered a lot. We talked about a lot in 2025. And again, at the mid year point, we talked about refocusing, um, getting our thoughts together about finances, mental health. We had a three-part series about that because it just kept going on and on that we had to speak to it about our mental health, our social emotional, our finances, physically. Like, how are we doing at the mid year point? Sometimes you got to have a check in point with certain things. Like, where we at? And it's a make or break. And that's the same thing when you go to your doctors. Uh, like, man, I need to go check in and see where I'm at. I'm not feeling right now. My certain things ain't working right, and they may prescribe you to do a lab or a test and say, "Yeah, this is going on. This is why you're feeling that way." It's better to catch it early than later
Yep.
because we see that we've lost a lot of good people. And all you got to do is watch the news or be logged in on social media that you see we're losing a lot of folks. And for me, the couple losses that I've had, and another one. Shout out to Reese McLean, that passed away too. Good brother, jokester. He was more closer to my brother Carlos, but he passed away recently. And it gets scary at a point because mortality kicks in, and we don't understand. Once you're gone, you're gone.
Yep.
So you can believe in the heavenly spirit, or I'll see you when you join us, like y'all gonna high five or whatever the case is. That's just a myth. You're gone, and that's the scary part of it. That's the scary part of it. And most people, unless you live to be not in your 90s or hundreds and you lived your life, and God bless those people who lived that life. That's a great life.
Yeah.
They're that long to live that long. But when you're in your 50s and your 60s and you're dying, and then your people like, I'll see you when I get there. I don't know. I don't know if that's the statement I want to be saying. And I keep telling anyone, I tell anyone right now, if I died tomorrow and y'all said he in a better place, I, my grave, I cuss y'all asses out. I will cuss y'all asses out royally. Don't ever say that. If I died at 55, I'm in a better place. I don't subscribe to that. I just can't subscribe to it. But I know some people are like, well, the religious aspect, but nah. I don't subscribe to a kid getting hit in a 10 or 12 and someone gets up there and say he in a better place.
You know
Some of this shit
the
some of
funny
this
thing
shit don't make sense to me.
the funny thing about that is I'm sitting over here and people probably wonder why I keep looking up to the side of the screen because my cat is sitting here. You probably can't see him, and this cat is 18. To put that in perspective, an 18-year-old cat is equivalent to a human that's between 80 and 90 years old. And I cherish this cat. I really do. Why? Because I don't have any kids. And it's probably the one thing that I've cared more about than myself sometimes. So, yes, life is precious. And this is what David is talking about. celebrate while we have it, because once we don't, it's going. I've had to euthanize two cats, and I tell you, it is not fun. Some people will say, "Oh, they just animals." Nah, they become an extension of your house. They become an extension of you, especially if you poured into them. So that's what he's talking about. So shout those people out, celebrate them while they're here. You know, don't take any of this. Don't take him sitting there for granted. Don't take me sitting here for granted. Don't take anybody around you for granted. You got to pick up the phone. You got to shoot them a text. Do that. Let them know they appreciate it. Let them know you glad to have them around, because we don't know when the sickle gonna come. We just don't.
Yeah. So again, I said 2025 was a handful, and for me personally, early in the year, car got stolen. I never thought that it was going to end up into a, a couple months fiasco. But again, it's all about certain things that we already talked about, that people get comfortable and they think they can do what they want to do. And they pretty much did what they wanted to do. Took the car, partied, uh, crashed the car, what about their business? And after that, nothing.
Yeah, that's
Nothing. And that's the world we live in. I just seen in Niagara Falls, maybe last week, a 14, 16-year old stole a car, crashed, and all that stuff. Like, what are we going to do, people? What are we going to do here as we move forward? Like, people can just do whatever they want to do, and the people that law abiding citizens get punished for it because your insurance go up.
yeah,
You have to, after you're paid toward a certain car, you have to go get a new car, and put more money into it. Like, what are we doing here? We're in
yeah, crazy, man.
2025, going into 2026. What's going to change? What are we doing? I can't figure it out.
It's a wild world, man. I saw shout out to Rob Shots. I don't know how this dude gets all these scoops. I guess he listened to the scanner. But anyway, there was a actually 2 blocks over from where I am, somebody using a firearm, and I don't understand the prevalence of the foolishness with firearms. I just don't. Yes, they were always around when we were younger, but you had people that just
Yeah,
didn't do dumb
hold
shit.
on, or hold it
Yeah,
down. I'm about to step away.
yeah. You didn't have people do the dumb things that these people are doing with firearms nowadays. And I don't know if it's a product of them thinking that nobody's going to get hurt, or they're not using it to engage in any crime. But when you start discharging bullets, and pardon me for saying this, you're not aiming at anyone, you don't have a target, somebody bound to get hurt, and somebody bound to get arrested, because people are going to get fed up. They're going to keep calling the police. They're going to get after the mayor. They're going to get after the chief of police, and they're going to start cracking down on anybody that look like they doing something that's out of place. And people will say that's targeting. I don't disagree at all. But this is the kind of situation that's created when you get these knuckleheads running around here doing this kind of stuff, because it makes the place unsafe. People are consistently talking about the rundown condition of certain areas in the city. And I try and fight the good fight. I say that's not true. But then I look at the police blotter, and like I said, Rob Shots and everything else, and I'm like, I can't fight that anymore, because the prevalence of stupidity is so overwhelming that every time you turn around, a car is stolen. Like David just said, somebody doing something dumb, and this guy got stolen in the city of Niagara Falls. He had to come back home to be a victim of what they would consider to be a violent crime because his crimes against property and people. So I don't know what the long term goal is, or I'm sorry, the long term solution. I do know this, that whatever we are going to do to stem the tide, we need to start in earnest. So I don't know if that means getting to the younger men before they develop these ways. I don't know if that's putting the younger girls aside and say, hey, look, you don't need to be out here fighting like this. You don't need to be out here engaging in this kind of behavior because it's the kind of violence that these females are engaged in, they're only hurting each other. So when you see a group of girls, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and they get into a fight, it brings in the entire neighborhood. And then all of a sudden, the police come. And the police aren't asking any questions. They just snatching up people, macing people, handcuffing people. If you get hit with a charge, you get hit with a charge. And if something happens to you where you're brutalized, they can say, "Hey, look, you should have been around that mess to begin with. When that mess jumped off, you should have been going home." People will say, "Well, I got a right to be where I want to." You know what? You're absolutely correct. You have a right to be where you want to, and the police aren't going to ask you. They're not going to care. They're coming in to reestablish security, assert their authority, and to make sure that the neighborhood is conducive for people to walk around it, conducive for people to be safe. And when you're engaging in hostility, nothing good comes of that. It's order. We talk about structure, we talk about order. People want it. But when the police go to establish it, and I'm not saying the police are always right in what they do, but this is not about a right or a wrong. This is about order. A lot of people don't like the way fathers establish order in the home. Well, you didn't have to spank him. Well, how was I supposed to teach him order? Talk to him. How many times have I talked to him before about this? Talk to him some more. No, that talking don't work. A hand upside the head, a belt across the behind, that works because they understand. Hey, look, there comes some discomfort with doing dumb shit. Now, would you rather me teach him while he's 9 or 10, or do you want to let me allow the system to get to him when he's 17 or 18? Because the system is not going to give a damn about what you say. The system will throw years at him like it's Halloween candy, and it's Halloween. So get to him early before the system gets to him a little bit later. That's all I can say about that. Gun violence and all this nonsense, man. And it's not, you know, the things that people get into that I understand. I said nonsense, and I call it nonsense for a reason. Because if you're walking around out here with a weapon, and you don't have a license for it, you don't go to the gun range for it, then you don't know how to use that thing properly. And I'm saying this as a person who's been to the range. I got my paperwork in order. I know people who are concealed carriers, and I'm not gonna mention them by name. They go to the range. They understand how to handle a weapon. So if you want to, do it legally. But y'all don't want to do that. Y'all want to be wily coyote, cowboys, and wired up, and eventually you get caught.
Yeah. So these are all the things that's brought up in 2025. They were there in 2024. And even we mentioned about Black History Month. Is it still relevant?
Hmm.
That was something that was brought up. Is it still relevant? Do anybody care? Do this young generation care? Uh, because you only care it's only as good as the teacher connecting the Black history with the current times that we
Yeah.
have now. If you don't have that connective piece and you're teaching about it, but you can't tie it into the modern day times, that's just like in church. The best pastors or reverends know how to connect the word to the current times. If you can't do that, then you got a lost following. And remember, sometimes your following is just based on like historical things. This is where we always went. This is what our family always did. And they may not be engaged like that. So a lot happened in 2025. A lot. And a lot was covered in the counselor's corner. And one of the things my brother said, yeah, I need to get some more female energy on here. I said, we had female energy. We had tons of female energy. It's like, yeah, I need to still get that. And and I'll say, and I'll put it out there that if you're a female, you want to come on, maybe you can't come on every week, uh, but if you want to come on and add your insight, we always open.
Yeah.
We don't turn people down.
Do not.
Inbox Herb, inbox me. Even if you're someone, I'm not saying that certainly we haven't made it, but I think we're sort of established on this platform that a lot of you think, oh, I just want to go live. I want to be able to do that. I want to do that. But this is opportunity for you to have some structure. Come on here, state your point, and give your views. Hey, I'll even let you have at it. You can choose the topic. You can choose the topic, and we'll just dissect it and talk about it from our perspective.
And the funny thing is, it's already happened once. A lot of people are unaware who got their start. I'm not mentioning any names. We're discussing something with David.
Talking about the Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, that was the first start. I'm gonna mention her name.
I'm not, you already know my stance.
Well, I'll say that. Yeah. Hashtag it, Princella. Our platform was the first platform, and as many of you said, because a lot of her things been shared in the counselor's corner. Some of her sound bites and quotes, but y'all didn't realize that her first thing was against Mel started from our platform, and somehow I got put in Facebook jail, and she was supposed to come on our platform. Then it had to be put to her platform, and she controlled the narrative,
Yeah.
and that's where it all took off. Because and then I said, hey, let's do a redo. Come on my platform. Once I got out of Facebook jail, she said, no, 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 I'm not coming on there. So she controlled the dynamics. She said the queen of toxic. Jada said, good evening. Compliments of the season. Good brothers. Wishing you both the best Christmas and a happy new year. Thanks for your dedication and contribution to the space. Very much appreciated. Much love, Jada. And hey, we just try to talk about things that we know is relevant, and purposeful, and no matter what. We
Yeah.
may have 3, 4 people watching. We know people watching clips. We
Yep.
know by the numbers that the numbers is growing, that people watch it later. I know that people have attention uh, spans that they can't watch something that long, but they can watch a short clip for a minute or something. As long as you can get them connected to something, eh, and maybe that can rope them in. All it takes is something short, momentarily that people will say, "Damn, I heard that, I felt that,"
Mhm.
and that could change the route. But we gonna get ready. Big bad wolf. We got like like 5 minutes left. We're probably not dealing with this subject, but well, we know we're not. But we just wanted to talk about some of the things that we covered in 2025, and we can't wait to push toward 2026 for our own personal goals and for goals of our followers and other people. Gotta get it. Gotta get it. Time is short.
Yeah.
Anything you want to close out with?
No, man, it's been a good one. I do want to take the time out to acknowledge all the people that were part of us getting to the thousand. BGS, Dr. Dunbar, former panel members. All of y'all played a role in us getting to where we are, and I, for one, am always going to be grateful for that. And like David said, anybody that want to come on the platform, we do not discriminate. We do not tell you no. If you want to, like David said, if you want to pick the topic, we are more than amenable to that.
Thanks, Doc. And you were a big part of showing us how, connected us to even StreamYard. So we all try to help each other out in this journey, whether becoming authors, published authors, and new podcasters and all that stuff. We work together. It's no hatred, no malice or anything in this. You said, "Go Bills." How about the Cowboys? Ha ha ha. Not this year, just messing with her.
It's been a rough year for my boys, but what do we do?
As they say with Buffalo, they think big dubs for Buffalo. The gate is open for them to get to the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. It's there. It's there. But Big Shank said, "Good show tonight, fam. No doubt, family. Much blessings to you and for everybody. Hell, close out the new year. Close out this year with something in mind for 2026 because time is short. It goes by real fast. And shit. I remember we was just sitting here and it was 2025. We was talking about this, and
Yeah.
now the year just went by. So time is short. We know that. You got to keep pushing for it. We got to work together to get where we going. And once we realize to do that, we'll be in a better place. And again, we losing a lot of fallen soldiers that's connected to us, and even media presence people that's passing away. Just got to keep grinding and got to keep pushing forward. I'm here for the task. I enjoyed, I relish it, and I love to accomplish goals and small goals and move forward. And hey, I appreciate you all who tune in or watch the shorts, watch the little clips, and comment. Keep coming. Yeah, that's all I have for y'all. And everybody, I wish y'all happy holidays, a prosperous new year. Yeah, we'll probably be on next week too. But I just wanted to get this show off right now for this time because who knows where we gonna be. All right. So we out, good folks. On to the next one. See y'all next time. Everybody be safe. Enjoy your family and be well. Peace.